Hello, my audience on Dominus Nisi on 88.9 FM. I'm so excited to introduce my guest today, Emma Costin. I mentioned this just before the song. So she is a leader who is helping us in a different way. So Emma Costin is the founder of EQ Leaders, and she is a finalist for a couple of awards that we will talk with later. But let me welcome you, Emma, to our radio show. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Bismi. It's great to be here with you.
Thank you. And I know that you are running different things, different leadership program for all range of categories, from kids, women, and the high performing teams and high performing leaders, all
right.
those things. So let me keep that one side, but start with you. Who you are? Where are you from?
Sure. Well, I'm a Wyndham local, Bismi. I've lived here with my husband for just over 12 years now. We're based out in the beautiful Little River. So for those of you Wyndham locals who haven't been to Little River, I highly recommend coming out and seeing the beautiful grasslands and volcanic plains that drew us to this beautiful area. And I also have two little boys now that live with us out locally.
Yep.
And so I've been a corporate learning and development professional for about 15 years, Bismi, and most of that was working in Melbourne. So when we first moved out to Little River, I was travelling out to Melbourne each day, and I did work part-time from home, but it was really during the COVID lockdowns, Bismi, that I was facilitating a lot of training, and like a lot of people, we were stuck at home in our home offices, and I was watching people switch off their Zoom cameras and disengage from the training. And the organisations that I was working for an employer, and they were charging a lot of money for this training, and I knew that we weren't getting through to people, and it really, probably like a lot of people during those COVID lockdowns, caused me to pause for a moment and sit down and think, what's my purpose here? Is there something better that we could be doing? We're hearing about the Great Resignation. We're hearing about the highest rates of disengagement and people moving on from roles across the world. Yeah. And and I was fortunate enough to be living on our 13-acre property with horses I've had my whole life. And I was really leaning into the horses a lot during that time, and started to think, maybe there was a way I could connect the two. And I had heard about programs being run in the USA that were incorporating corporate learning and development leadership programs with lessons from nature using horses. And so that piqued my interest and started my investigation with the master trainers. And through COVID lockdown, I retrained myself as an equine assisted learning practitioner. I flew to Texas as soon as the borders opened. I got on one of the first Qantas flights out to train as a facilitator in Texas, and came home and started what's now known as EQ Leaders.
Yeah, just curious to know, how did you connect? I know that you started your life with horses, so that means part of your life as a pet or a being with you. So how did you connect with horses in your early childhood?
So I was one of those children that just begged my parents for years and years and years for a pony, and a couple of my friends had ponies growing up, and I spent a lot of time, when I was visiting friends' houses out in the paddock, feeding them apples and just wanting to be around them. And I think around 12 years old, my parents finally caved in, and they said, we know that you're not going to, you're not going to give up on this. So I got my first pony, Rusty, when I was 12 years old. And I've had a couple of horses. I did Pony Club. I was a mad Pony Club fan, and just loved being around the horses. And actually, one of my first horses that I ever had is still a horse that we use in the program. He's 28 years old now. I got him as a 6-year-old, and he was a off the track thoroughbred. And he's been used in kids therapy programs, and he's had a wonderful life. And Bismi, I think you might have met him.
He's the one, the black big one.
Yes, that's right.
Yes,
and he's a really good,
elegant. He's like a very calm and looking at you.
Yes, but he's very wise. He's very, very wise, and he reads situations very well. And he's a soul that we can learn a lot from.
Okay, I think that's the other thing that I really got impressed with the sessions. Like, you mentioned that horse will smell your emotion, your stress, so don't be like don't be stressed because it will impact them. So how do you connect, what's the science? I know that everyone knows the science, but how did you experience that connection between your emotion and to that horse's emotion?
I think probably, being a teenager growing up with horses probably saved me lots and lots of psychologist fees growing up. I say that tongue in cheek, but, they do have a very powerful way of just being, in the moment with you. And you've probably, and we don't do therapy with horses, but there are a lot of really amazing therapists who use horses for therapy. And it was something that I always saw that there was some connection that, how horses help humans. And I remember having conversations with my husband years and years ago saying, for years I used to volunteer at the Riding for the Disabled Association. And I always loved spending time, with those kids and those adults who had this beautiful sense of freedom, riding those horses in those moments and having those lessons. And it was genuinely something, it was an experience that they look forward to all week, that they could be, quite a few of them could be free from their bodies, free from their wheelchairs on the back of a horse. And I always said to my husband, I really want to go back and, volunteer for RDA when I have, a little more time. And it was, as I say, through COVID, I was able to sort of sit down and think, what's my professional experience? What can I bring to people's lives? How can I bring the horses into people's lives with my background, with the training that I've done over the years, and bring my professional experience forward to combine the two and help people in a different way other than a mental health background, because that's not my expertise.
I think the mental health is everywhere, right? After
Absolutely,
COVID. Yeah. And, being a participant in your program, I can clearly see that before coming to the program, I knew that it's something related to horses, and I was wondering what it will be. I had no clue what it was. But going into that program, it's like the exercises, they took me to a different world. Came out of that program as a totally different person.
Wow.
So that's an experience for me, knowing nothing but coming and going out. But for you, when you do a program, you will give an idea, this is what you're going to do with the team, and this is sort of like an outcome that you will achieve from that team. So if you plan that type of courses and then going to different teams, do you feel like all time the horse will behave the way that or that you want, or is it totally depending on the horse?
So the horses are just responding to the energy and the intention of the group. And actually, I ran a group yesterday. We had 22 participants, and they were split in two sessions. So we ran an A group and then a B group, and they did exactly the same activity back to back. And so the first group went out, and they had 10 minutes to complete an activity with the horses, and they didn't get the goal achieved. And then the second group, because they had observed and watched the first group and learned from their mistakes, went out and they got the goal achieved. And somebody from the first group came to me afterwards and said, is this common that the goal doesn't get achieved? Are the horses trained to do this? And I have to be completely honest and say that if the horses don't feel safe, if they don't feel like there's strong leadership, if they don't feel like they are being noticed, that the relationship is strong between them, they can trust the people around them, which is often what happens when groups of people come in, they're working with unfamiliar animals, they're doing an unfamiliar activity. A lot of the people who were in our group yesterday hadn't worked together before. And so the horses do feel that sense of incongruence, and they're not clear on what people want them to do, so they will run. And so it gives us information about what do we need to do to connect, and it all translates perfectly back to our work life and our home lives. And are we communicating clearly? Are we being congruent in what's happening in our heads and what's coming out in our actions?
So you actually, after the sessions, that you will give feedback to the team that this is what you're lacking, or this is what you need to improve? Is
Yeah,
that
so the learning that we do, it's all based on an experiential learning model, and all that means is it's a fancy way of saying it's learning from an experience. So we have an experience with the horse, and the horse is acts as a mirror. They just give us feedback in the moment. And the beautiful thing about working with horses, Bisme, is that they don't hold grudges.
Yeah.
So if we make mistakes as humans, you know, in the workplace, often we can feel quite bad about it, and it's not a positive experience. Where we're able to practice real world leadership skills with the horses. They don't hold a grudge if we mess up. We get an opportunity to practice again, and we find out what works.
Yeah. I love that, you know, there is an exercise holding horses along with that rope and then going. And then I do remember that we were following the footstep of horse rather than forcing horse to follow our footstep. But it was like so in sync that they're trying to go together with us. So they can somehow smell us, like, you know, what's our thoughts, because I still do remember I was next to the bigger horse and I was wondering, oh, what will happen? Oh, how do I take him forward? But it was just that different touch points, and where we touch to show that the trust level, and you know, to show the different signals, those ones.
And isn't that true when we work with people in the workplace, Bisme, that we don't always know how to communicate with somebody. We meet somebody for the first time, they might have different communication styles, they might have different beliefs and values to our own, and we need to work through those and work out the best way to respond. And quite often that's the same with the horses. The horses we all have really different personalities.
Yes.
And so some are very easy to win over and build a relationship with, and others take more time. And that's true with humans too. So they, you know, teach us in a very short activity, in a very short time, we're able to simulate what happens in society and in relationships, and build our emotional intelligence, because they give us signals really quickly for us to be able to say, what's my part in this? You know, what might be holding me back, or what beliefs am I holding that might be stopping me from doing certain things?
So you have done many sessions now, and I know that different varieties of people. So how did you feel about the, you know, overall, what the testimonies from them, or what did you feel from your horses and even from your team? Because you can't really do this exercise just by yourself, because you need to come as a group, because you need the horse people, the training, all different things. So how did you feel after one or two programs? Is it like, you know, that I am impacting a leadership team to change? So can you share a couple of testimonies from the people after this type of experience?
Yeah, we have worked with quite a broad range of people, and we specialise in working with corporate groups. So a lot of executive groups that bring quite big energy. They're people who are responsible for very important roles in big business, and often they have to have a hard outer shell. They can't be seen to be, you know, showing too much vulnerability. So it can be quite interesting seeing those groups working with the horses. And similarly, sometimes the horses feel that energy is too much and they'll run. And because they're prey animals, that is in the wild, in their instinct, when they feel too much energy, when they feel that they're not safe, they will run. And we've had quite a few executives come through and really work through that balance of what we call holding a smile in the lead rope. So it is quite easy to hold the horse, you know, right up under their chin with a death grip and really, you know, force them around. But the horse isn't happy in that situation, and it's very forced. So how do we do that in a way where we have the right amount of pressure, where people feel accountable and they feel like they want to do a good job, but without being bullied, that they feel valued? And so we've had quite a few executives come through and tell us that having a smile in the lead rope's a really nice way for them to remember that I need to trust my staff, I need to allow them to be accountable, but trust them to do their job without, you know, having death grip on
always micromanage or just leave them alone a little bit. Okay.
But also we have a lot of feedback. Quite interestingly, there's very few people who don't come away from the experience really wanting to talk about what it meant for them. And I think that's the power of the program, that yesterday we ran a session for 22 people, and no two of those people will have had the same insights. The experience that they have with the horse is very personal to them and their journey and where they are in that moment in their lives. But having said that, it's always quite interesting when people come in and you can read their body language that they're not comfortable, they don't want to commit to the experience. I actually had a team leader come in and was very, arms folded, and I don't like animals, and I'm only here because my organisation wanted me to be here. And by the end of the session, she had really converted, and her team saw her in a very vulnerable way because, she had a very important role and she had to manage that team. And by the end, she was really quite converted and, gave us a 5-star review because she learned things about herself by dropping her guard and being able to experiment and practice leadership in a different way. And I think it also facilitates a space to, have those kind of water cooler conversations and learn about who the person is that you're working with rather than going to them on a task level. So it's not, Bismi, I need this from you. How are we going to do this project? It's, Bismi, who are you as a person? How do you relate to other people, and what's important to you, and what are your values here? And it's a very great way. And I don't like to use the word team building because really team building could be anything lightweight, but it's actually quite deep personal learning people do. But it does really connect groups and leave them, they leave feeling very connected and aligned and collaborative.
Yeah, I like one thing that you're doing is like it's always we feel that work is different. My reality or my real personality is different. I don't really showcase what is my real life in my work. But I think what you're trying to do, like, connect your personality and then be open in the workplace so that it will automatically give you the best. Because it's always they having that double phases, and sometimes it's so hard to deal with that. They will suffer sometimes in personal life or in the workplace. So, but you are picking that, like, together and then giving the best out of them. So I think that's what everyone wants really after COVID, because everyone knows that, it's just one life. Why are we struggling it?
Right.
Just,
what's my purpose here? And so much of the work we do is helping people or helping organisations align their people to their vision and their purpose. And it doesn't matter if you're the CEO of a company or you're the person who's picking up rubbish and cleaning the grounds at the end of the day. If everyone's aligned to the purpose, what's our vision? What's our purpose for this business? Who are we serving? Why are we doing this? Then you get out of bed in the morning and you feel valued and you know that you're making a difference in the world. And I think that's such an important thing for organisations to engage their people and align their people, because once we all realise we're working towards the same goal, it just feels so much easier. It's not them working against us. It's like, we're all in this together. We're a big family.
I think it's actually helping you to collaborate without pushing them to do it, because we have the same purpose, we are on the same journey. So you are actually forming like a real work culture through these types of experiences, because the experience, like holding hands and then being the best person in the team through that session in a day, it's a great change in her life, right? Because lots of myth or that things that she was keeping, that's actually going away through the real experience. So I know that you're looking through all this corporate world, but you, for Wyndham, you got a real purpose. What you're doing just in Wyndham, you got 3 different locations in Wyndham, right?
Yeah, so we operate, so the Winnovation Festival we ran from the Werribee National Equestrian Centre, just at Werribee Park facility. And that's our accessible facility that we can run from. So we can accommodate people who use wheelchairs there. We've got wheelchair accessible bathrooms, and we use wheelchair tracks to go across the surface there. And we've also, we use 2 indoor facilities out of Little River. And we also have our outdoor facilities. So we can accommodate different budgets, being able to run from those different facilities. And our preference is to stay in Wyndham, because why not bring people to this wonderful city? I'm a huge advocate of Wyndham City, and yesterday we ran a session out of our Little River facility, and our participants then finished at Lansmore Mansion Hotel, and we had a wonderful debrief and lunch there, which was really, really great to be able to work in with other businesses and, as I say, make Wyndham the place for people to come.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's one of the other, I would say, other difference for you, because you're connecting to that local areas and connecting to that local businesses, bringing them together and collaborating with them as well. And then you're working for, especially for women and then all the whole community and different areas, right? Can you share a bit about that, like your speciality?
Yeah, so EQ Leaders is a social enterprise, and that means that at least 50% of our profits each year go towards working with not-for-profit and charity organisations to provide leadership opportunities to their leaders. Often charities and not-for-profits don't have the same budgets for professional development for their leaders as some bigger corporates. So our aim is to really boost those organisations who are doing good by supporting them with pro bono and low bono services. So those organisations can apply to us, and when we have budget, we can do that. And we have a special interest in working with emerging women leaders, and particularly culturally and linguistically diverse women of Wyndham. I think that's really been through connecting with the Wyndham networking groups. Is there are just so many incredible women from different backgrounds who I meet at all these networking events, and they just give me so much energy. They have so much drive and so much to offer the area, so much to offer business, to impact other people's lives. And so that's something important, I think, having been a woman myself in that corporate kind of organisation. I see that things are shifting, and how can I support other women locally to have their hands up and really
exactly. So if you are listening, and if you are a woman from Wyndham, and then if you would love to enjoy that leadership experience, I would really love you to come and connect with Emma. And then we have different special prizes and special programs, and I'll be putting the details right under this video, so then you can connect with Emma. So coming back to the innovation that you mentioned that you got last year, that's where I met you and your program. So can you share a little bit more about your involvement in innovation?
Yeah, sure. So the council approached me to, so each year Winnovation runs a masterclass on some theme. And the theme for Winnovation this year was all about human connection and how do we work in with others and connect, locally and externally to Wyndham within, businesses and people. And so I was asked to submit a proposal for the Winnovation, and we were so delighted to be able to host that event and really bring in so many people from different areas. And it was quite a challenge to work with so many diverse people from different walks of life. Really, it was everyone from people who were quite new to working to very experienced and senior leaders, and we had lots of glowing reviews in the evaluation. So I think we really got that mix right, and I think that's what's really great about this work, is that it doesn't matter who you are and where you are in your life journey. There's something that you can take away about some reflection and learning. So we were delighted to run the masterclass for Winnovation Festival, and it's been fantastic connecting with so many businesses after that. And I just have to say, Wyndham Council, the Economic Development Department, just do such a phenomenal job at thinking outside the box and offering people in business, and not even necessarily people who are in business, but maybe thinking about starting a business, so many workshops and opportunities to learn and grow. And I really think that in the past 2 years, we've been operating for just under 2 years now, and my personal growth just through what the local council has been offering through workshops and professional development has probably been more growth and learning that I've achieved in the last 10 years prior. It's really quite amazing. So
yeah, that's great to hear, because we know that the council is really offering many different things, but I think the people are really a bit reluctant to find out the right opportunities. But your testimony is great, because the 10 plus years plus 2 years, and you compare, if you're getting more from council, that means that's a tremendous amount of effort that the council is doing for
Yeah,
many people.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
I also think that it's easy to feel intimidated, to turn up at some of the events and, maybe think that this isn't for me. But I really think just by showing up and talking to other people and making connections,
Yes. Yeah.
like I have with you, and it really
Yeah.
just strengthens our
It is.
sense of community.
Yeah, that's great. And I know that council is really good to, encourage people giving, the best at the same time, encouraging them through different awards. So can you share about your awards that you are
Yes.
getting soon?
So we are very excited to be a finalist in 2 categories of the Wyndham Business Awards this year. So this year we are a finalist in the Excellence in Customer Experience Award and also the Social Enterprise Award. We were very excited last year and very fortunate to win the New and Emerging Startup Award, which has really made some great connections and no doubt, put us in good stead to run the Winnovation Masterclass. But so this year we'll find out the gala event for the awards is in the first week of September.
Yes.
So and they announce on the night. So my team and I are all very excited. We've been excitedly sharing the details, and we're really looking forward to that. It's a great event.
Even the announcing the finalist, it was also a really great event. Connections and the networking, and the council is really doing the best to showcase all the people who are doing the hard work, because I would say it's the hardest job to pick from the finalists and then who will win, because everyone's doing lots of different things.
And there's so many, particularly in the social enterprise category, the other finalists, and so many businesses are so deserving to win. So we're just stoked to be a finalist, Bisme, and a win would be, exceptional. We would be really happy, but we know that whichever business wins will be very deserving, and it's really great to be able to support and work with so many wonderful.
We pick finalists as a winning criteria, because it's like from many different businesses they picked up, and you are showcasing that customer service and then doing great things from your brand, and then you're helping many life, not just an organization or some organizations. You touching that individual person's life and then changing their perspective. So I would say you are changing a life. Through that life you're changing many families, so you're doing great community service through your
and that we sort of use the term full circle good, because we think about the leaders that we work with today. We're helping them be better leaders, so then they can change the lives of the people they work with, and then within their organization they change the lives of the participants or the clients that they work with. And we like to think of it as we're just sort of the drip in the pond, and then the ripples go out, and we sort of resonate our good by the lives we touch. So that's definitely what drives us and gets us through every day.
Okay. That's great. So you mentioned about your family, your team, but again, I just want to, in a nutshell, what is the real motivation behind you? I know that you're giving energy to other people that always, drain you down. So what's your motivation, and what's the real rule that you always do to keep up your cup full of energy?
Well, I think I'm so driven by a sense of legacy and what I'm. I have 2 little boys, they're 5 and 7 years old, and I've worked in some pretty toxic workplaces over the years, Bisme. I've had some leaders who really had no business to be leaders. And when I say leaders, I should say managers, people who were really quite poor managers, and they weren't managing the mental health or, valuing their employees. And I think that's one of the big drivers for me, is that I want my sons to work in a role for an organisation where they feel valued. I want them to have leaders that look after them. I want them to have a sense of purpose, so that they get home every day, and that's not just working to put food on the table, but for feeling like they have a sense of legacy. And so much of EQ Leaders is leaving a legacy for my sons and leaving the world better for them than they arrived in it. I don't think I want anybody to feel the way I did some of those days working under those managers, and that's a big motivator for me.
Okay. Yeah, I know people listening with the corporate lifestyle, they can resonate to it, because even though after COVID, there are a bit of like a not bit like many different opportunities to have that work-life balance, but lots of challenges there in the corporate ladder. Not just because of work-life balance, but many different issues, elements like your color, your age, your gender, whatever you can mention. And if you have your own values and your own business, that's where you can really live and lead that legacy for your next generation over there. So that's a great way that you sharing whatever you learned and you experienced to your next generation. I just want to check with you. My show is the show that where people who spreading love, joy, and peace in their life, and that's what exactly you're doing. And want to check with you, what will be your message to our listeners?
I think my message is knowing your own strengths and the gift that you bring to others, but also recognizing that everybody else has, five strengths, five gifts, and things that they can offer to you, and just noticing that where you stand in your values and beliefs now, and you can gain so much by leveraging, working with other people and looking into them and seeing, how you can collaborate and respect and, love everyone else around you. So
okay, so everyone got the talent. You need to collaborate.
absolutely,
well.
yeah.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. That's great. So I really wish that you will touch many lives, many families, and many communities, not just in Wyndham, around the whole Australia, because people like you, it's like a catalyst for a moment. It's not just a change in one little place. It should go around Australia. And then I'm sure that your team is really good, and then you cultivating that culture within your team. So that means it's easy for you to expand and do better things.
Yeah, I am blessed with a wonderful team, and we're all aligned and very, very much, we love doing what we do, and it just makes it easy. After yesterday, my team, sent me messages, thank you so much for a great day. And I say, thank you. Like you're working for me, and they really don't feel like it's work, because we genuinely love what we do.
Both enjoying what you do. That's what we need to do, right? We need to love it to get that as a great outcome. So wish you all the best for your finalist award, and I hope that you will be there in the news in next in September. And again, as you mentioned, being a finalist is also a big thing for a business like you, because that's showcasing that you're doing something great for the community. So all the very best.
Thank
You for coming to the studio.
Thanks
and then sharing your story. Thank you so much.
Great, thanks, Biz.
Okay, so Dominus Nisi listeners, this is Emma Costin. So you should go to her page. I will be putting all the details. And if you think that your team need this or you need this, just connect with her. There are many opportunities here in Wyndham, and that's the reason why we love Wyndham. So she's the best guest for the series called It's My Wyndham, and I'll give you all the details and stay connected. This is Dominus Nisi, be spreading love, joy, and peace from Melbourne. Thank you.